He goes, hey man, I got something for you if you want to try it. And like, I'll tell you right now, it was a hallucinogenic. And I was like, I saw how many girls he was getting. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And boom. I was able to come out of my shell because I was really a reserved kid, really quiet. And then I felt like I needed that now. Yep. Like I liked that new me, like who didn't care about what people thought. And that's what it was. That was the disease, how it got me and grabbed a hold of me. It went from drinking to like drinking and now trying to stay sober by using uppers, right? Just using something that'll keep me up so I don't have to drive drunk, right? And then went on to, and then went to, man, when you're on crack, you hang out with the weirdest people. These are my guys. These are like the gangsters that I love. I was so anti and wanted to rebel against everything that I had been taught because I never got that chance. I never had that voice. I never got to be me. But this inner demon was waiting in the wings. I didn't know who I was anymore. I couldn't recognize myself. That enamorment with that street life had given me a harsh fucking reality. Like, this is not you. Like, and it brought me back to, I just want to be that good kid that I was before any of this happened.
I got Aiden here. I got Ali here. I'd like to introduce Ali. He's our guest tonight for episode 20, historical episode. Again, just not knowing where this was going to go, but continued on this journey. And we'd like to welcome you here to Sober Champs, Ali, and welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful to be here, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's what's up. Ali, we've just literally gotten to meet each other about for the last 20 minutes or so. So we just wanted to welcome you here to Pioneer Square Color Studios, Fredo in the back. You know, just having some hospitality here in the heart of something that's we're trying to just repair down here in the city. A lot going on, like you probably saw as you were pulling up or driving around. And all right, man, let's start this episode off. We usually start with your sober date. What's your sober date? My
sober date is July 7th, 2023.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's almost 2 years.
Yep. Yeah. Almost there.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's congratulations.
Thank you very much, man.
Yeah. So we were talking about where you're from. It sounds like you said you were born or you came from Federal Way.
Yeah. So originally I was born in Ankara, Turkey.
Yeah.
So my mom was in NATO and my dad was in the Army.
Okay.
And they met, fell in love. He moved her out here. Before that, they had me. Then we moved to Brussels, Belgium, and then to Germany, and then to Federal Way of all places. I came here in third grade.
In third grade, man. Yeah. So were you speaking English?
No. So here's the funny thing is I was speaking fluent German with my Star Wars figures and Turkish. I learned English when I came here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy.
That's what's
Federal
up.
Way.
Yeah.
Dropped in
places.
Federal Way,
Yeah.
right? So when you got dropped there, or when you came to Federal Way, like, was the language barrier a struggle for you?
It was a culture shock. Yeah. Definitely. It was, so having an American dad, I was able to learn English pretty fast. I did pretty well in school. But the culture shock, you know, like kids and their friends, they've been friends since kindergarten, right?
Correct.
I had to kind of integrate in and I kind of felt out a little bit sometimes, but it didn't change until like 7th grade or so when I kind of got into sports and got athletic with people, and it was great. So
yeah, that was one of the things that I was gonna touch on. You were talking about you guys met in basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how'd you guys meet? How you and Aiden meet?
I met Aiden for the first time at my home group, regardless of age, in Puyallup.
Okay.
We had a young person's speaker meeting.
Okay.
He and his sister and my sponsor's son and one of my home group members were the speakers. And I loved his message, man. He had a great message. I mean, for a young man to get sober that young, I mean, I wish anything I did that. I wish I would have done that because my life would have been a lot different. But it's good to see that. It's such a thing of attraction, right? When you see somebody young getting clean like that and sober and building his life and doing great things like a podcast and snowboarding I see him on social media doing great things. So I met him there. We actually got a little closer at the men's retreat. I got looped into going into the men's retreat. I got thrown into service by being the vice chair. Aiden came one of the second days and we were like, hey man, let's play some ball. And this guy is a hooper. And I played a little bit. I played for Decatur at Federal Way. Okay. So yeah, I played with some good ballers and then that was my first love was basketball. Yeah. Like I dreamed of going in the NBA. Yeah. I would hang my legs on monkey bars just to try to get taller. Wear those strength shoes around school.
Oh, strength shoes?
Yeah, dude, hey
man, he's throwing the strength. You know what strength shoes are?
What strength shoes are.
Hey, look. So they had this catalog called East Bay, right? And in the East Bay, they would advertise these strength shoes. Fredo, you know what strength shoes are? Oh man, look. So like, especially for a white guy, man, there were these shoes that like they would force you to be on your tippy toes, and you would just walk around on your tippy toes all day.
And they were
get your legs stronger.
Oh yeah.
Well, your calves, pretty much your calves.
Did it work?
It worked a little bit. I was able to dunk it like in 8th grade, but just lobbing it up. I wasn't like this guy. This guy has hops.
Oh, he's got hops.
Wow.
Okay.
But yeah, I did that. I wanted it so bad, man. I would have given it. If anything, I wish I was like 6'5".
Well, you can still hoop. Yeah. Don't get it twisted. All he can hoop. He's a baller. He played at Decatur. Decatur's tough. Like
they were tough. We won state 3 years in a row. I had some great players. We had Mike Dickerson.
Okay.
Went to Arizona and then went to the Houston Rockets. Roberto Bergeson. Andre Pleasant, a bunch of guys that were awesome. And then we had a guy named Kyle Howard, who was a 7-footer at the age of 17. Like this white guy, dude, just so huge, dude. Yeah. And I was the only guy I played point guard. Yeah, that's so right. I was like, how can you not do good with those guys? So,
right. That's a good squad to be around. Yeah. All right, so that brings me to.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
That's what's up. Hey, so that brings me to like the sports, right? And how I can relate to like when I found sports, it was just a beautiful way to integrate myself into, the chaos that was in my life outside of sports, like whether it be school, friendships, social interactions. Once I got playing sports, it changed everything for me.
Yeah.
So speak on that a little bit.
So yeah, I agree. Coming from a different country and then being integrated into sports, I started with Boys and Girls Club basketball. That was amazing. And then from there, JV at Lakota and doing all that, I felt like a part of a little bit of a, like a brotherhood. And that was awesome. Because at the same time, finally, when I got into 9th grade, my family life wasn't doing so good. My father was a drinker, great man, but just he had the disease of alcoholism, and my mother didn't understand how to approach it, how to acknowledge it, and how to like help him get better. So it was tough. Arguments. Dad coming home really drunk. I just immersed myself in basketball. I would rather be, I'd go for early morning lifts. I'd stay after practice just to shoot around more. I didn't want to go home. And it wasn't like anything was abusive. It was more like I felt like I didn't want to be around the fighting. They argued all the time, and finally in 9th grade, my mom asked him, it was funny. I was talking to my girlfriend about this. I was pretending to be asleep on my mom's lap, and he was I don't want to, I'm not going to be with you anymore. And then she was like, well, why do you want to go to counseling? He's like, no, I don't want to. And I felt at that moment, like laying on my mom, I felt that thudder, like her heart broke. And it was crazy because she's never dated since. Yeah. And my dad ended up remarrying. He finally years later went to rehab. And then got into the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and was amazing. Like became a sponsor, had sponsees. And I finally now, like, it's funny, like I had some resentments, right, when I was growing up young, but I understand my dad so much now. Like my dad would be so proud of me right now if he saw me. I know that for a fact. Like I connected with my dad. I could go to my dad for anything. Tell him like, hey man, my alcoholism is getting out of control, or, hey, my drug use is getting out of control. And he would never judge me. My mom being Turkish, it was very taboo, right? She didn't want to talk about it. She swept it under the rug. Yeah. And that was hard because I was doing amazing in school, but I had this dark little secret hanging out with the homies, that was tough. So sports was a big outlet for me. I did track and field. I did, basketball. I even played tennis a little bit, wrestled, and I did as much as I could. I couldn't play football because my coach wouldn't let me. I was a little bit too good at basketball, and they didn't want us to get injured before the season started. So
yeah. Did you ever play soccer?
No.
That's okay.
And coming from Turkey, bro.
Brother,
no, those guys are so
like,
good. So when I went back every summer, they put me in the goal because they dribble with their feet like I dribble with my hands.
Right.
Like they are amazing.
Yeah.
I never could do that kind of stuff. It's like playing the drums. I forget the step part.
Yeah.
You know, so,
I know. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. All right. So then, let's say you get into that situation where you're playing sports, but you have this dirty secret. Like most of us, like it's fun to start, the use of drugs and alcohol and all the stuff. It's fun. Like it can be exciting and the thrill. Do you remember your first couple, uses or?
I do.
What?
I do.
Yeah, what were they?
So I'm going to give you a little bit. Like I always wanted to fit in somewhere, like be it through athletics or be it through like the people that I looked up to. And at first it was always that crowd that was like the athletes, right? But then my friendships, I became really good friends with certain people that lived in the project areas, and those guys were real. I mean, they told me how it was, and they wouldn't sugarcoat it, while all these other little kids were backstabbing each other in high school, like going out with whoever. But so I remember I started drinking pretty heavily in high school. I don't know about you, but we'd get the 40s of St. Ides, Mickey's, Old English after watching Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood, and that was it, man.
Yeah.
We loved that. I remember one time at my buddy Drew's, he had a party, and this guy, captain of the football team, I forgot his name, but he goes, "Hey, man, I got something for you if you want to try it." And like, I'll tell you right now, it was a hallucinogenic, and I was like, I saw how many girls he was getting. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And boom. I was like, this is amazing. I ended up hiding in the closet because I was so screwed up. But that was a big thing. I was able to come out of my shell because I was really a reserved kid, really quiet. I was able to talk to senior women and just like roll with it, And then I felt like I needed that now. Yep. Like I liked that new me, like who didn't care about what people thought. And that's what it was. It was that I was enamored with that. Oh, these guys like me because I'm talking now. These guys like me because I'm doing the same things they're doing.
Yep.
So that was the disease, how it got me and grabbed a hold of me.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, that's part of my story to a T, as far as like just being able to come out of my shell and speak all the thoughts that I was having and then have responses of like, wow, that's really good. You're really talking to me like I want to be talked to. And you're like, what? You really like what I got to say? Oh my, especially with the women. And so that was a big deal. And then you just become, I believe that I needed it to just continue that behavior.
Yeah. Agreed.
And so like, I would bring it into school. I would bring it in, after school. And so did it ever get sloppy? Like, were you ever in school and like things like that?
Sloppy. It got sloppy when I got to college. I went to the University of Washington. Mm-hmm. I got kicked out of the dorms. It was so sloppy. I got kicked out of the dorms. It was so funny. We had our dorm room was Haggett Hall, and I remember we created our own fraternity called I Felt a Thigh. Okay, just being stupid.
Whoa, I
remember I was about to get kicked.
That's some Greek stuff, right? Greek mythology.
Yeah. So I was like, my dad was paying for college, right? And I'm like being threatened that I'm going to be kicked out of the dorms, but I had to find a place, right? So what do? I joined a fraternity.
Yeah.
I joined a real fraternity.
Okay.
And man, let me tell you, the guys are awesome. The brotherhood was great. I also felt like an outsider there because I was the only person south of like Tequila, being from Pierce County and Federal Way in that area. Yeah. Like they were all from like Mercer Island, Bellevue, Kirkland. Yeah. So it was tough. So yeah, they teach you how to drink in the fraternity. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you guys, I remember a story where it was kind of scary, man. It was during Hell Week, and I remember, and I'm not going to mention my fraternity because this doesn't even happen anymore up there. They clean that whole stuff up, and it's great. They do it based on academics and based on sports and based on outside curricular activities, which is great. But I was in the heyday, right?
Buddy.
I grew up. I graduated in 1993. It was straight into Animal House, man. So I remember like they were like making us chug so many beers. I would look over at all my other pledge brothers, and they're drinking and they're puking. They're drinking and they're puking. And it's like right before we're about to get initiated, I'm like, how the hell did we survive that?
Yeah.
Because it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and literally not going to class for another week or two. And it got so bad where I was behind in my schoolwork, and I'm Aiden knows me, man. I get vulnerable. I'm very transparent.
Real.
I got caught cheating at UW. I got caught cheating because I wanted to go to the Apple Cup so bad that I gave my paper to somebody so they could copy off it, and they copied it word for word, but I got in trouble. I had to go in front of the board, and let me tell you, my mom came up for that. That was that first unmanageability where I'm like, shoot, I think I could get kicked out of school, and how am I going to deal with this with my family? Luckily, there was 2 votes that wanted me still in. I was blessed. I was grateful. And, you know, I ended up changing majors, but it was a big lesson, you know, like I was like, dude, I can get kicked out at any moment. I was even social chairman of my fraternity. And I'll tell you right now that I got put on social probation because my grades dropped so bad. I'd party all the time. I couldn't go to my own parties.
Yeah.
And that made me kind of think of, I've always, in my sobriety and in my clean time, I have always had these instances of, okay, time to fucking, let's go. Let's get back on track. Let's do it. Little instances of abstinence, or when I can walk away, but then it would just get worse every time.
Yeah. Something that I think about that just like you being from like a foreign family, right? And like in my own work, like families that I work with, like I just worked with an Ethiopian family. It's like, there's so much pride, like there's family pride. And like, what I'm thinking about through all these years is like, where was your like, what did your mom, and like, how did your mom, like, was this all hidden? Like, did you just try and keep it hidden and closed off? Cause I remember like in my own experience, it was never like when my mom found out, everybody knew. Like, it was like, how do we fix this? How did that look for you? Like, was it ever trying to like get stopped throughout this whole process into college, et cetera?
Yeah. So, man, I hit it well. Like there was times when like I lied through my teeth. I lied through my teeth. I didn't want to disappoint my mom. My mom, being in a Turkish community, they talk a lot, right? Everybody knows everybody, and that was tough. And I ended up, starting to get to be like a black sheep, but it was my sister, my younger sister. What an amazing woman. She's a normie, but she's the one who saw what I would be doing and hiding it so well that she didn't care. She was like, I'm going to do it straight up. Yeah. And she ended up perfectly fine, and now that whole microscope was on me. Yep. And that's what was hard. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm going to get vulnerable. I became a professional liar where I could hide it very well.
Yeah. I mean, that's my story, man. I did not, my consequences were so minimal, even though they were major, they were minimal on like my responsibility. I was able to, I told the story the other night. It's like, there was this night where I was loaded downtown, and I drive away and I hit this car and I parked the car, and it's totaled, and I needed to take care of that. And I was able to wiggle my way out of it so that I wasn't the responsible party. And so, but those consequences should have been so heavy, but I was able to manipulate and lie my way out of it. And so then the consequences, I was free and clear, if not even better than I was the night before.
It's almost like a badge of honor now.
Yeah. Now I'm using it as a skill.
Yeah.
Now it's like a part of my like personality. Yeah. And now I'm lying about everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about like we're just lying about what I had for lunch. And so that I think is the scariest part about my disease was like, I was so good at it. Yeah. And
it's like a different persona.
Yeah.
Now you are creating a different persona that you now like. And it's almost hypnotic, man. Like, yeah, I like that guy.
Yep. Yeah, because it's hard not to like the guy, because really everything's going my way per se. It's going. I'm controlling the show. I got the lights. I'm writing the screenplay. I'm doing everything, and it's all pretty much flowing pretty well.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you were to take that like the lens back, kind of create that big look at the picture, It sucked.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible.
It goes hand in hand with drinking and using, that lying piece, you know, because part of that, like, I think we all can relate to is like the perception that we want, like we're comfortable in ourselves. You know what I mean? It goes hand in hand how we want people to see us. You know what I mean?
We control the narrative. Like, and that's where it's funny where that gets out of hand. Like after a while, like I got engrossed in my own persona where I thought I was untouchable. Then I did. I remember like as my addiction progressed, later on when I was actively using like hard narcotics, that was I did some stupid things. You know, I remember I was at the melting pot in Tacoma and I would just lay out stuff on the table and just go, and I'd be like, what are you looking at? Like, cause I can do that.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, like nobody in their right mind can do that. Like, what are you doing, Ollie?
Right.
Like, what are you doing, man? Like, who are you? Like, I really stopped recognizing myself. And then I'd come back home on the weekend or after the weekends were done. Like I'd be gone from Thursday till Sunday, just partying it up. Come back, Mom, can you pick me up? I ran out of money. Oh yeah, I'll do anything you want. I'll vacuum the house, whatever. Right.
Yes.
And the good son again.
Yeah.
The good son. Yeah. Anything to just keep her off my back.
Yep.
And to not hold myself accountable. Yeah. That's the thing. I used anything as a scapegoat, whether it be blaming my friends. Oh, they're the ones who gave it to me, or they're the ones who have it. I'm just hanging out, maybe having a couple beers. Oh no, I'm out of control. I'm the one where my friends get scared because I'm the one going too far now.
Yeah. And one of the things that I talk about is like how I separate the loved ones from the like druggies.
Yeah.
Like I make sure that they never come in contact with each other.
Exactly.
Because if they did, the stories would go up in flames.
Exactly.
And so I'm blaming my best friend that like, my best friend's really in trouble, man. He's really out of control. And like, really the best friend's like worried about me because I'm out of fucking control. But my mom or my wife or somebody thinks that, and so then it's just like, you're trying to keep everything in line. And so you got to keep them separate. And, that was a big part of my
100%. Man, I feel so bad for some of the guys I blamed it on. I'm like, I have to make amends. And I'm like, dude, it was never you, bro. Like my mom still to this day thinks that it's like this guy. Like, I can't, that's the bad one. No, I was the bad one.
For real. There were some badass best friends. All right. So we get you to college and you're in your frat and you're getting through, you got social probation, you know, like you're getting consequences. You could possibly get kicked out. Did you end up graduating?
I did.
Okay.
I ended up graduating. It's one of the things that, so my mom, after my parents got divorced, she didn't even have her American citizenship. She could either move us back to Turkey, but here I am, a ninth grader. I'm like, no, I don't want to go back there. Like that's a third world country.
Please, please don't.
Plus I got to go in the military there. No. Or she got a job. She got her American citizenship after like 3 years, and she became a single mom who put us through high school and got me, whatever happened in the settlement between her and my dad, he was ordered to pay for college tuition. So I had to do that for her. Yeah. So I ended up, after that social probation, I turned it around. I was like, let's just get this done. Yeah. I was really close. I ended up getting a degree in kinesiology and a degree in exercise science, which I really love doing. And then I was like this, I'm done. I go, Mom, I did this all for you. Now I want to go, pursue my own things. Right. Yeah. And when I started doing that, I moved back home, back to Federal Way. And at that time, I started hanging out with some really close friends of mine who some of them are in the program of my 12-step program. Some of them are not, but it was all drugs and drinking. That's all it was. Yeah. One of them was my dealer. And these are the guys that, listen, man, I was the guy who was drunk and I'm like passing out. I'm like, how are you guys still up? Yeah. How are you guys still up? Let me have some of that. Yeah. And they were like, no way. And it's funny. I always want to look back and think maybe they said no because they knew what was going to happen. Yeah.
100%.
I thought they were just trying to protect me. Right. Mm-hmm. No, but now I'm like, seriously, because I went beyond them.
Right.
Like I'm that professional partier that I'm going to beat you. And it's not to just beat you. I'm just, I need to see where I stand with this drug or this alcohol. I'm going to go all the way with it.
Yeah.
And it was like a cloud of like some dark cloud over my head for years. And it got worse. It went from drinking to like drinking and now trying to stay sober by using uppers, right? Just using something that'll keep me up so I don't have to drive drunk, right? I ended up getting a few DUIs, and that stopped me from drinking as much. So I moved on to the other drugs that are a little bit like, party drugs, club drugs, and then went on to cocaine, and then went to crack. When I went to crack, I was like, I would be in these studios with my buddy, and I would forget what day it was. Like, we were literally on 6th Avenue in Tacoma. Yeah. We were in his studio because he was in a rock band. People were coming in. It's like a trap before traps happened, right? Yeah. And I'd be like, whoa, money gone. I'm hanging out with people. Man, when you're on crack, you hang out with the weirdest people. I'm telling you, bro. I remember a girl answered her door, and this cockatoo was on her shoulder, and this cockatoo goes, want some yay? Want some yay? I go, what the hell is going on here? But I'm like, but I'm hanging out. I'm hanging out with these guys because
you're just like, I do.
I'm like, you're talking. I'm doing it, and these guys are like, these are my guys. These are like the gangsters that I love, because I was like, I was so anti and wanted to rebel against everything that I had been taught, because I never got that chance. I never had that voice. Yep. I never got to be me. Right. But this inner demon was waiting in the wings, and it gets worse. So that was a hard thing. So it got to those drugs. And then I remember I had a conversation with my dad. I said,
so was your dad living in, did he live in this area?
He lived in Kent.
Okay.
He lived in Kent, and he worked for Boeing.
Okay. So he was around, he was able to be interacted with.
Yep. Yeah. He was around. Cool. And I remember, so one of those pivotal moments in my life, I had a really good best friend. His name was Matthew Jones, and God rest his soul. He was a graffiti artist known as Plus One. Tacoma, I mean, they still have his stuff up. They still have his tagging up, and he was a great kid. He was younger than me, and like, I'll tell you right now, man, I got this guy a job at Olive Garden. I took him to the gym, and I saw like life happen through his eyes. Like, for the first time, he did all these things, and I remember we got so close that we would be running drugs from like Federal Way to Portland, and Portland back to Federal Way. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, you're a good kid. Right. Like, aside from the fact that you're spray painting like trains and stuff, you're really not a bad kid. Yeah. Like, he didn't, he drank a little bit and stuff like that. And I remember, he just told me he just wanted to fit in. And we got along so well that it was, I remember one night I was at my apartment, and these guys came over and they go, hey, Ollie, Plus passed away. And I was like, what? I was like, don't tell me that, dude. And so he had taken this girl out that he liked, showed her a mural that he painted that's still up on 56th Street in Tacoma. And he kissed her for the first time. It was his first girl that he ever kissed. And she said, I don't feel the same. And he said, all right. He called me. I ignored those calls. You know why I ignored those calls? Because I was up at the clubs with my buddies doing ecstasy and all that. And I was hanging out with these people that I thought really cared about me, but it was all because I got the drugs. And I regret that, because, man, he was just trying to find a place to sleep. And he ended up driving home, trying to drive to his dad's house. He died about 500 feet away from his house. He took a corner too fast at 80 miles per hour. His dad heard the car crash. He ran into a parked semi-trailer, and that was it. Wow. And that's where that first little, I don't care anymore. And I started going like heavy. I started doing anything. Like, I started doing meth. I started doing meth, crack, and just playing around with it. And I was doing things that were like what we were talking about earlier. I was risking my life in such ways where it was subtle. Like I remember at a party, I jumped out of a 2-story window to jump in the pool, thinking I would get this applause, but I came this close to hitting my head on the pool. And when I came out of the pool, I was like waiting for the applause. I heard crickets. So I was like, that's it, time to move. So I talked to this girl who's a travel agent. I said, I need to move to Hawaii. So
just out of the blue.
Just out of the blue.
So now, let's. So when you say you were doing meth and crack, do you do them together? Yeah, meth and crack. Yeah.
That's an experience.
Yeah, like what? Like man, what is that like? Like, so you buy meth and crack, and you're like, we're about to do both tonight.
Yeah.
Wow, that's some shit.
Yeah, so
you're on like day runs, right? Like days that it's like
we're going like 6 to 7 days, easy.
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
Easy. Like my family wouldn't see me for days. I'd be stuck somewhere. I didn't have a car, so I'd be like just doing whatever I wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah. When the money ran out, I'd go back to work. Wow. Yeah.
Where'd you work at the time?
At the time, I was a bartender at Olive Garden.
Okay.
And then
what happens when you don't show up, though?
My girlfriend at the time was working. She'd cover my shifts.
Oh, this guy. He's like, yo, I'm out. Yeah.
I go, there's no way I can come in, man.
Right.
No way.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
What were some unique, like, give me like a story of those moments? Like, I don't know, that just seems so wild.
Yeah. Okay,
you
so
know, like,
I had a friend,
like,
I had a friend that lived up in
I need to live through
Kent.
you, man. Go ahead. Yeah.
This guy was fun. Rich kid from Kent, really good athlete. And oh man, I had one of those instances where I gave this guy crack for the first time. And then we were also taking bong tokes of meth.
Okay.
This guy came downstairs, bro. Okay. He wanted to know how to cook it so bad. And then he comes downstairs and he goes like this. Hey, Ollie. And mind you, he's wearing an FBI hat and a t-shirt that says, fuck you, pay me. And he comes downstairs with a gun. He's like, why are you trying to steal my cat? I'm like, what? Why are you trying to steal my cat? That's ISIS. That is the direct descendant of ISIS and Osiris. I'm like, well, bro, I'm sorry I gave this to you. And like, I thought he's like cocked the gun, getting ready. I was like, check, please, I'm out.
Yeah.
And dude, I never heard from that guy again.
Wow.
Yeah, but I heard he fell deep. Yeah, dude, some of the instances, the guy who brought me into the 12-step program I'm in right now, he goes, all right, man, we're going to go up to Hilltop, Tacoma. You're going to do your first crack deal. I'm like, what? He goes, I can't get out of the car, man. He just shot up. So he's like, he can't even move.
Right.
So I go out there. I'm wearing a trench coat and a fedora. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, so I drop the money and I go, drop it right there. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
But it's like just scary moments like that. I'm like, and these people are waiting in the car like, I need to crack it. I need to crack it. I need to crack it. I'm like, whoa. I'm literally, you're with the weirdest people. It's straight out of a movie like Pulp Fiction. Mm-hmm. It's like nutty.
Yeah. And then you're just doing this. Like you're participating and that's what you're doing. Then you're going to go back to mom's house.
Back to mom's like, and we're going to be like, hello. Secret life. Hi, how are you doing? Yeah. Oh, you want me to go to my sister's house? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, bam. Jeez. Like it was a double life, bro.
All right, here we go. Hey. So now, have you, at this point, there's got to be at least some outside influences or some people identifying like, hey man, have you seen Ali lately? Man, he might be in a little bit of trouble. We might need to like figure out how to help him. So was there ever attempts at like coming to get you, or you being like, I can't do this anymore, I'm going sober?
No, not the attempts of getting sober. Okay. There were like those same friends who they were hiding it from me, right? Remember back in the day with the cocaine and stuff? Oh, they were like, I had heard that they planned an intervention. I'm like, an intervention? These are the guys that gave it to me for the first time. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Little things like that. But I'd always steer clear of it. I'd always get in front of it. Yeah. I'd always be able to like, in some ways, my mom enabled me.
Yes.
You know, she wanted to sweep it under the rug. She didn't want that to come out. So I was able to manipulate and lie to her all the time. Yeah. And I would take those little stints of abstinence and do this or that, and it'd be fine. And
all right, so then we're gonna get into a topic it's pretty controversial, but like I think that if you were to be in your mom's shoes and if you were to replay your story again, when you would come to like reset or ask for money or kind of get that pretty much that break from the ripping and running, what would you have done as your mom to like maybe stop the codependency of like, or the enabling that was occurring? Like if you were to be in her shoes, what might have worked for you if you were coming home and you're your mom, and what would you have said to that Ali?
I would have kicked me out.
Yeah.
I would have kicked me out. I would have said, go to treatment. Don't get out of my house.
Yeah.
And it happened years later, right? Mm-hmm. Like literally this happened when, she finally had to get outside help with my sister and my brother-in-law and probably some good legal advice, some people that she trusts, coworkers. But at that time, at that age, when I'm still like manipulating her, I would have said, get the fuck out of my house.
Yes.
What are you doing? Like, go clean up.
Yes.
Like, you're not fooling me.
Right.
Really, for reals.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just like, how can And I think that has something to do with a mother's love for their kid. But
100%.
there's like, you're blinded.
No doubt about it.
You're blinded.
No doubt about it. But I think that when we talk about it, it's like that's maybe one of the biggest things that parents can do is say, look, I love you to death.
Yep, but I can't do it.
I cannot. I will cry till the sun comes up. Yep. You know, I'll cry for it. But the point is like, no.
Yeah.
We will not be helping you here anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there was time like, come on, like I'm getting ready to go to a party. Come on, she's not dumb. She's not dumb, but she's giving me money anyway still, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just more like, I don't know. I don't know why she did that. Maybe the love for me, or maybe she just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Was there times when you wanted to go to her and ask for help though? Because like I think about this so often where there was times when I was like, I want to stop, but I'm going to do it on my own. Like I don't want anyone to help me. I don't want to stop. Like I don't want to ask for help. Was there times like that for you? Because I try and think about it, and I like never wanted to even tell my mom, you know, or my dad or anything. Like
not till like there were times, but it wasn't till like my ex-wife left, and it was my addiction really went deep. You know, yeah, I did. I wanted her to talk to me. You know, I wanted to talk to her. I was too afraid. I was the guilt and shame. At that point, though, back then, after college and you know, getting into the work life and doing that, yeah, I didn't really care. I was more like, I can do this on my own. Maybe a change of scenery might do it in Hawaii
now. So now we get to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right. So you really do move?
Yeah, I did.
All right.
I moved to the big island of Hawaii.
Okay.
And man, that was a culture shock. Being a haole and going there, I had a girlfriend. She was white, and it was great. Her parents had 5 acres of coffee. And so my whole life became picking coffee in the morning and working at the kayak shop for her dad. And it was great. Like I learned how to surf. I met some amazing dudes there. I got jumped. They told me, so that's where my drinking, because drugs, I didn't know how to get drugs there.
Right.
Yeah. And any type of drug that I was using.
ice was there. Like,
yes,
right.
And I'll come to that.
Yeah.
But the cocaine and the cocaine and the drugs that I liked at first, like meth wasn't really the way they did it there. Like he said, is ice, but I didn't know anybody yet. Right. So I drank a lot.
Right.
And I did salvia. I did that. That was crazy.
Salvia.
Yeah, salvia.
What is that?
It's like a hallucinogen.
It's like a hallucinogen. It's kind of nutty. I woke up kind of naked, upside down on a couch, and I peed all over myself.
All right.
You smoke it, and you're only high for a few
15 minutes. Yeah,
but it feels like forever.
So my whole episode was I was in that. You know when Frodo puts on the ring?
Yep.
And it's like,
and he gets like,
That's exactly what it was, dude.
Wow.
I was
Going
like,
to like a whole nother world.
You are in a trance. Like I had no clue what was going on.
Okay.
So yeah, I drank a lot in Hawaii, and then. I went out with some dudes, and I remember my cousin always said, don't go downtown by yourself, not without friends. You're not local, blah, blah, blah. I ended up getting jumped, and I took on all those dudes until I got hit in the back of the head with a brick. And when I got hit in the back of the head with the brick, I know I was knocked out because I nasal rocketed when I got up. My nose broke, and I spit out a tooth, and I was like, is that all you guys got? And yeah.
Brutal.
It was getting unmanageable. I was doing stuff that like literally like, and I was hiding it. I'd come home. What happened? Oh, I fell down. You know, I fell out of the car or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and then my cousin introduced me to a dude, and that's where, I mean, they have stickers in Hawaii. They say cook rice, not ice. And that ice, that was it. It was all over.
Yeah. Like when you so Dog the Bounty Hunter, shout out to Dog the Bounty Hunter. He was the one that was like, I would watch like all these cats in Hawaii were getting hooked on ice. And it was really scary.
That's crazy.
Guess what?
I didn't even know that.
Right next door to the kayak shop that I worked at was his son, Leland's bail bonds.
Yeah.
Leland was a dope ass dude, man. Yeah, Leland was there. Yeah.
Shout out to Leland, man.
Yeah, shout out to Leland, man. Yeah, he was there right next to Kelikuku Kayak and Dive.
Okay,
that was dope.
That's what's up.
I'd see him all the time. He had a great family there. But yeah, and it's a small community, so you know what's going on.
Right.
You know what's going on.
Right. And so you start using ice?
I did.
Okay. And then how, like, what is that? I mean, you're on an island.
Yeah.
Do you start going into I mean, people have to know you're on the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You start, start going to bars like that. There's not many places you can go really on an island. Like really, you kind of get, it's the island fever, right? But, you know, it started again where I'd hang out with my cousin. We'd be in like a house or a hotel room, And then that
Here we
whole
go
next
again.
thing, oh, you guys know how to make crack? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And boom, off to the races again with the ice, crack, and
here comes
anything.
a lady with a fucking parrot.
Yes.
You know, here comes a lady with a...
Yeah, exactly.
Here comes the types of people that come around at that time.
It's nutty.
Oh, I remember there was this one time I was addicted to blues. And at the time I didn't really know what being dope sick was. And I remember, I would know the guy who would go get the blues, but the charge would be a pill. So I'd get 10 blues and one would go to the guy for getting the blues. And I remember I was so sick and we get to the spot, we get the blues, but I'm dope sick and my stomach's rumbling. And I remember just being like, all right, man, I got to get to the bathroom. And I was like, yo, pull over here. And they had brought me to it. They had driven me there. So we get into this AM/PM and I go running in and I'm ready. Man, stomach ache is killing me. And the bathroom is closed, man. And I remember being like, well, I think I'm going to shit my pants.
Yeah.
And I shit my pants.
Yeah.
And I remember just being butt naked, taking off my shorts, taking the shitty fucking underwear, wiping my ass, throwing the underwear, putting my shorts back on, getting in this car and going home. And like that right there.
In the store.
No, it was right outside the store.
Okay.
Like right around the front door. Like it wasn't too far.
Yeah.
But the point is like these are the moments that are like red flags of like, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
You know, what are we doing here? But there's no attempt to like address the drug use, right? So then, all right, going back to your story, you're in Hawaii and it's unmanageable again. And so are you getting sober yet? Like, is there moments, man? So like, all right. So you get, what do you got to fly back to Seattle now? Federal way?
Yeah, I flew back. Moved back in with my mom. I started training. I became a strength coach. Met some people because over in Hawaii I had fought a little bit.
Okay.
And met some. I met
Took a couple bricks.
Yeah. And then I met certain people that introduced me to some gym owners that were in Auburn. I worked for them, and it kind of was fate, man. I started training UFC fighters. I started training like Dennis Hallman, Brad Blackburn, Benji Raddick, and all those guys from Victory Athletics, and that was dope. So I had this job, and I had laid off the meth. I was still doing coke. I was still drinking, but I was like, nah, I'm not going back in that dark cloud of meth, because it's like I did. So I did have that epiphany. So every time I kind of got into meth a lot, was where my life spiraled. And I remember my buddy would say, yeah, dude, this is not you. You know, the guy who gave it to me for the first time. So I was like, okay, so here's my thing. If I can just do coke, if I can just do alcohol, then yeah, I can control it. Right? That's what the disease tells me. But no, sooner or later, oh man, I could just use a crack hit today. Yeah. You know, why not? And I would hide this at work. There were several times at my job when I was training people where they would pull me aside and have little interventions, like, and they would give me incentives not to do it. This gym came from some of the people that were in ownership. They have dealt with addiction, some of them themselves. So they had a good place in their heart for people like us.
Right.
You know?
Don't you love those people?
Yeah.
I swear if those people weren't around, we would be screwed.
We would.
Yeah.
Because there are people in some very respectable places that have seen people like us.
Yeah.
And they want to help.
Yeah.
And they're here to help.
Exactly.
And like, if it wasn't for those people, I mean, our society might be in real trouble with people like ourselves.
Yeah. And they did,
You know?
They erased some things, court problems I had, DUIs I had. They really did, man. And, yeah, there was times where it would get out of control, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, I can't do this to them. The owners have done so much good for me. So, and I worked there for a while. I did really good. I started cornering people in the UFC events. I started going to like all these fights. It started with UFC 132. I had sold the most amount of training one month. So my boss gave me that as a present to go and corner Dennis. And I was in Detroit, and it was awesome. I remember it got unmanageable because I got drunk after the fights, and he was like, don't miss the flight. And here I am rolling up to the airport in Detroit, almost late.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that would have been bad. So, and then I met a girl there. I met this woman that I fell in love with who worked with me. And, dude, I was using meth again, but I was like, okay, hey, I met this woman. I think I can stop. Right. So, and I wanted to hide it from her and her family, like very much. I was actually now ashamed and embarrassed. I didn't want, what you said earlier, keeping the people away. That I didn't even introduce her to my folks yet. Cause I was like, I do not want them to say something, cause it came out later on. Right. So I became abstinent. I remember like we were getting very serious. I was literally thinking about asking her to marry me. And she told me something that she couldn't, she said she couldn't have kids. And I was like, well, you never know. God can grant miracles, right? I still love you. I want to be with you. But I told her this, I have been using drugs for a long time. Yeah.
You guys became honest.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, right.
And the fucking weight off my shoulders that came with that. Yeah. I have never done that. Yeah. Besides my dad being able to go to, before moving to Hawaii, I'm like, Dad, I got to get out of here. Yeah. My best friend died. Like, I need some money. What are you doing these days? Oh, I'm doing this and this and this. And he's like, yeah, whatever, but no, this woman, I didn't want to risk losing this girl. Right. And, so I became abstinent. We drank here and there. Yeah. We got married. I asked her in the cage of a fight. One of my coaches was fighting at the UFC, and I asked her in the cage. He brought her up, and it was awesome. And literally, we went to Hawaii, did the honeymoon thing, and I thought life was awesome.
Oh man, right. I do know.
And my unmanageability with that gym in Auburn got me such an ego where I was thinking I'm the elite trainer. I should be doing this because I'm still kind of using. Yep. Not telling her, but I'm using. And I got fired. They fired their head trainer. Wow. They fired the guy that was their golden boy who made them all this money and was training all the UFC fighters. And my ego was pissed. Crushed and pissed. And I started using a little bit more meth, and I strictly went to meth now. And that, when you go strictly to meth and you start doing it in different ways, like I'm not talking intravenously at first, but I'm talking bong hits and snorting all you can. I'm like, okay. And you start getting like, it screws with your head. Yeah. For me, it's like my disease tells me these guys are talking about you, they don't think you're that good. And I'm like, so I became so good at what I did, but I hid it very well. Like I literally would be up for like 20 hours a day, working my craft, being the best and being in the limelight, going to these fights, local MMA fights. I'm that golden boy doing all that. And, so I needed a job though.
Right.
And, the only opportunity I had was moving to California. And, I got a call from somebody who was working at Gold's Gym. They had 16 gyms in Southern California, and my wife and I had a very rough first year. Very rough first year.
You lost your job.
Yeah, I lost my job.
Yeah. You're on meth.
My use, right. and I introducing her to it a little bit too. Yeah, and that was not a good thing. Yeah, she was a good girl. Yeah, and so we had to get out of there. So another change of scenery I thought would do the trick, right?
Geographical change.
Yeah, and that never works out for anybody. Like, I'm so glad I'm on this podcast. They tell you those things like geographical changes. Yeah, no, that shit doesn't work. Yeah. Parents who are listening to this, you got to tell them no, get out. You cannot enable them no more. There's no way. Like these people have to hit rock bottom. Yeah. Everybody's rock bottom is different. I'm not saying you're going to be on the streets and fight for federal way. Like I was, but you have to hit rock bottom. Yep. You have to, when my mom broke that umbilical cord, when they turned their backs on me and I was alone on the streets of fight from federal, I was like, this is a war zone. Yep. I did not grow up around people on the streets. Yep. Like I was enamored by it. I had homies in it, but no, this is now me fighting I'm stealing food from groceries.
You had timeouts. You could just go home and be like, I'm home.
It's like, I was on the set of a movie.
I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. It's like, I got a home. Yeah. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Now you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Living in tents. So Right. So we moved down to California. I got a job at Gold's. I did really well. Things were going great. That was the longest I was abstinent from drugs. I think it was 4 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
4 years.
impressive. Yeah.
We drank.
Yeah, and no like meetings or nothing. You just said,
I didn't do meetings. I did get a DUI down there.
Okay.
And that stopped me from drinking. So I had to go to a meeting. So I went to an AA meeting that was in a park. It was an amazing meeting.
Yeah.
It was, so the meeting was in the middle of the park where outside there was a lot of heroin users. And we would just invite them to come get coffee.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt comfortable there. And I said, can I do this? Even though it was outside of the county lines that they told me to go to the NA or the AA meetings. And I was like, please let me do it. And they're like, cool. Yeah, go ahead. So I finished it. I did my IOP there. And I was done drinking. I had been bailed out of jail in San Diego and LA so many times where I was like, I'm done. And it got to the point where I stopped drinking. Drinking wasn't it wasn't something that really grabbed me anymore because I knew the damage and the wreckage that happened. It was either financial, court-based, or like I'm going to DUI. And I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I can totally relate to what alcohol is like a really problematic thing for me. Like, because I'd get so belligerent. There would be so much weird stuff that happened and I couldn't like keep it within this like the before blackout and loaded enough. Like I could never find that like perfect area to stay in to like have fun and just be a cool cat that just drank. It would always turn into some bologna sandwich up here. I'd be out here blacked out. I'd be out here looking for oxy, doing coke, doing what I'd be fired up. And so then I always found it very interesting to be like, if I could just leave the alcohol alone, I'll be okay.
Yep.
Because I'll just smoke weed. I'll just chill. I'll be chill, man. And I won't drink. Because if I drink, I've noticed like they talk about these alcoholics, man. And like if you start to drink and you can't control your drinking, you're an alcoholic. And I was like, well, if I don't drink, I'm not an alcoholic. If I'm gonna stop and I'm just gonna smoke weed and do. But for some reason, it was like the drugs took my life as far as it. I started being when I found oxy was that thing that was like, it was like alcohol, but I wasn't like belligerent.
Yep.
And I wasn't blacking out and I wasn't getting DUIs and I wasn't fighting and I wasn't crashing. So then it was this, what I thought a manageable mind altering substance that I could just control and like, oh, this is fun. And what it just didn't tell me was like I'd get addicted to it. And so I can relate to the alcohol part because my last drink was a Heineken, like and I remember challenging myself to like drink the Heineken to show myself that I'm not an alcoholic. Little did I, anybody else knew I'm like on 25, 30s, and so that's a part of my story of just like, man, I knew the alcohol was a problem. So then I was just switching seats on the Titanic, right? Yeah. So I knew I was going down, but I just wasn't going to go down with alcohol.
I like how you said that. Switching seats on the Titanic. I'm on this lifeboat right now.
Like I'm on the oxy boat. Okay, I'm in this seat here, but I'm going down. Yeah. And so, so you've decided not to drink. And so if you can just manage this stuff and not do the drinking, you're in California. I agree, because that whole thing, so the drinking was the problem for me. It really was, so I would do those drugs like cocaine and meth, aside from the club drugs, because that was just to hang out with the cool people, right? But I would do that because I would get so drunk and I needed to be able to be stable, not to be like, so many DUIs. I have like 3. I'm like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So take a bong choke of meth or hit a cocaine, line of cocaine. I'm like this. Ooh, I'm good. See, and pause. I just want to take a minute right there. Normal people don't think that when we're going to go have a couple of drinks, that to stay in the game, we're going to go hit a fucking bong rip of meth or fucking take a line of coke and we're good. Yeah. Like that's where like it gets like crazy for us. It's like, like people just, for some reason, our thinking says that's fine. Yeah. And when other people are like, let's say just watching this, I'll never forget some of the people when they would see me do certain drugs. They'd just be like, bro, what is wrong with this guy? You saw the fear and then like, what's going on with you? Like, and it's like, well, this is cool, bro. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? This is what you're supposed to be doing. I can keep going. Yeah. Like, that's how I stay up. Exactly. So that's why. So I thought, hey, stop drinking.
and these problems might go away, right?
Right.
And they did. My wife continued drinking, and it was funny. I went to the casino one night. Me and her got into an argument. I went to a casino, and I'll tell you right now, for anybody who thinks by a geographical change that's going to help anything, no, the same people are in the same other locations. They're just different names. You don't know them, but you know who they are.
Yeah.
Went to the casino. I mean, I locked instantly with this dude, and he was like this with his hands, and I was like, yeah. And right there, I got a rock of meth, and I'm like, boom, off to the races. And that's where I kept it quiet. I did so good at my job, kept it quiet. And there's the unmanageability. I got fired. Working at Gold's Gym, then Crunch, then UFC gyms, and then getting fired when I was a regional vice president, keeping it hidden. Like, I got fired on the day that I got my second consecutive Fitness Manager of the Year award. That's because I was too hungover to go to a awards ceremony that they had paid for in San Francisco.
Receive your award.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, oh, I got strep throat.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, you keep having all these things keep happening, right? Like you keep getting fired, you keep moving, you keep getting into fights, whatever it is, the women problems, the drug, trying to manage it. When did it start getting to the point where like, this is so fucked, like there has to be an actual change? Like, where is your rock bottom?
My rock bottom was, so my wife and I got married on May 19th, 2012. And on May 19th, 2020, it was our 8-year anniversary. I had gotten an Airbnb for us, and I had a 3-carat diamond pendant waiting for her and like a little scavenger hunt, and she never showed up. The unmanageability, I'm going to get real vulnerable, and the unmanageability of it, because I don't know if I'll ever. My sponsors told me, let God handle that one. If he presents the opportunity to make amends, then he'll present the opportunity. But I think she had saw some texts where my meth use caused me to go experiment with other people. And and it sucked. And it was me trying to get, like, here's the weird, like what you said, how addicts think, how people who are alcoholics think, we think it's normal. I was trying to get her attention by doing this because our marriage had kind of gotten stagnant. Like, we didn't talk anymore. But guess what? That was my drug use. It had nothing to do with her. Everybody in my life that my drug use affected, they were just walking eggshells around me and reacting to how my behavior was. And I've learned that now. So when she didn't show up, and I got a Dear John letter after 8 years that she was leaving me, and I was like, that's it. So that's when I didn't care. I literally started doing so much, hanging out with gangbangers, prostitutes, boosters. I lived in the roadway in Fife, where I finally lost my house. My parents filed a no contact order to get me out of the house because I had turned it into a trap. I didn't have a car. I was getting arrested all the time. And I finally was living at Dash Point State Park, camping out, getting my dog kidnapped by people. Like, I mean, it was nuts. I would be on Pack Highway and Federal Way rolling a shopping cart where I was a star athlete. And you know how humbling that is? And it's crazy. I finally got arrested, and I had to do 72 days in jail, and I was facing 34 months in prison. 60 months in prison for like burglary, unlawful imprisonment, and assault. And I was like, that's okay. So when I talk about my higher power is like amazing. Like, I had felt my higher power abandon me and forsaken me, but never. My higher power was putting me through such a good God shot lesson because of how my life is now. And I know we're going to talk about that because, man, I wouldn't trade my life now for anything. Being a trainer in the UFC, fighting MMA, having a beautiful wife, having a great family. I would not trade any of that. I would not ever want to go back in time. So when I got that God shot, and I was like, I went to jail. I found God again. I started praying. And when I got out of jail, they reduced my sentence to a misdemeanor, and they said, you have to go to treatment. But I still wasn't done. The taxi picked me up from jail. It was in May of 2020. May 2022 or 23. And 23. And they took me all the way up to Turning Point in Seymour in Seattle. And I got out of the taxi and I was like, I could just hop on this bus and go right back to Federal Way. Nobody would ever know. So I did that.
Oh, you did that?
I did that.
So tight.
I got on the bus. I went to Fred Meyer in Renton, then went to Federal Way, and I was on the streets again, and I was running and gunning, doing the same thing until my higher power gave me this notion. It's about time to call your probation officer. Right now, it would be a month that you would have gotten out and you need a report. So I called her and she goes, I just put out a warrant for your arrest. You better come in and check in right now or you're going to prison. And I was like, that's it. Like I had no place to go. I was staying at encampments that people would kick me out of because like, here's the funny thing is I'm an alpha male and I'm aggressive and like, you don't get along with people like that. People are always jealous that it's a communal thing where they've known each other for a while. You know that, right? I didn't have any friends. Mm-hmm. I thought I did in the prostitutes or the people that I hung out with, the gangbangers. No, I was a novelty. I was somebody that they could like use. And they did.
You were a temporary interaction. Like,
exactly.
Well, let's keep you around for a little bit until we can squeeze the juice out of you. Yeah. And that's
100%.
Yeah. So did you end up going to CMAR?
I ended up going. So center? I ended up getting, I went there when I checked in. She's like, you got to go to treatment. She got 2 recovery navigators from Federal Way. And they put me up in a hotel in Federal Way of all places. So I had, this was like the fork in the road, right? It was July 7th, 2023. I had done my last like hit of meth like that night. So that's why I always say July 7th is my clean day because I didn't do any drugs that day at all. And I went to a hotel the Days in Federal Way. And mind you, my birthday is July 9th. So I'm in the middle of Federal Way at a hotel that I used to trap at and having people that I know there. One of 2 things. They got me a bed date on July 10th, which was a Monday. So all I had to do was sleep in this hotel room for 2.5 days.
Come on.
And all I did was I went to the Walmart in Federal Way, got some food, deadbolted the door, and turned off my phone and went to bed. I actually slept through the whole way until they knocked on the door to take me to the Greyhound.
Oh, shit.
I didn't get out of my room. I knew that it was too much. That's my rock bottom. I was like, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I didn't know who I was anymore. I couldn't recognize myself. That enamorment with that street life had given me a harsh fucking reality. Like, this is not you. Mm-hmm. Like, and it brought me back to, I just want to be that good kid that I was before any of this happened.
100%.
You know? And
you wanted to find out who that kid was, right? Who he was supposed to be without this ripping and running.
Exactly.
All right. So you get,
so I went to treatment. I went to treatment in Port Angeles. It was an all men's facility.
Okay.
AVHS or something like that.
I know AVHS.
Yeah. And I was kicking and screaming the first 3 days. I didn't want to do it. And then
how'd you like it?
It was good. I became a community leader.
Oh, nice.
I found God again in there and I started praying again. And I had this amazing dialectical behavioral therapist, this counselor who identified, I remember we were in group one day and it was just me and her talking. And I even apologized to everybody because I wanted to get to the root cause. She goes, it sounds like you have an inner child screaming for attention. And you have unrealistic expectations have been put on you that you put on yourself because of your family dynamics, being Turkish and having your mom want this for you and having your dad not care in the fact that he didn't care, but he wanted me to be anything I wanted to be. And when I found that out, I found out that alcohol and drugs were just my coping mechanism. And I was like, well, I think I can do this then. I got to figure out what's wrong in my head then. What's wrong with me? Why did I seek those drugs by the captain of the football team? Because I wanted to fit in. Mm-hmm. I've always come from a great family. I wanted to fit in. I wanted people like me because I did not like myself. I hated myself, man. I hated what I looked like. I hated like the fact that I was quiet. I wanted to be all that, right? And it was tough. It was a tough realization to come to that when I finally got out of treatment, that same dealer who gave me all the crack, he was in a 12-step program where I trusted him, man. I said, dude, you got 7 years clean, man. Take me to a meeting. Be my sponsor. He's like, I'm not going to be your sponsor because you used to swindle drugs for me, but I can direct you in the right way. So he took me to the recovery garage in Auburn. And then he took me to my next meeting, which is my home group now. And I have jumped in, man. Yeah. I've jumped in because I have no ego. I have I had to deconstruct myself. Like in jail, I had to get arrested. I had to lose my family. I literally have not talked to my sister since 2017. I'm going to come back to that because, you know, how amazing my recovery is now. But I hadn't talked to my mom. I didn't see anybody. I lost my family, you know, and I gave that shit away, you know, and so went to meetings, got a home group. I was riding my bike, bro. I was riding my bike an hour just to go to my home group. I got a job at Mod Pizza as a dishwasher and then moved up. I'm now the assistant manager. Like I've humbled myself immensely. I was this high profile trainer, best of Western Washington, 7 years in a row, best trainer in San Diego, to washing dishes because I needed to learn how to work again. I needed to learn how to pay bills. I needed to learn how to coexist with society because I was so angry. I was so angry at everything.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I hated myself. So
I think that's one of the things that like we don't talk, or I don't talk about enough, is like how much like I'm my own worst critic. Like it's one thing to have people outside of you know, in the world criticizing me, but man, there's something about like something really like hard about me telling myself I don't like myself. You know, it really to me it's like what the 12-step programming helps me like get to is like loving myself, having an outside entity come in and be involved in my life, a higher power. And going back to this Mod Pizza thing, so is it true that Mod Pizza, like I've noticed that I've heard that they help a lot of people like ourselves in getting employment.
yeah.
And it's something that I've never really directly addressed. And by the way, I love Mod Pizza. My son, we love, but I've noticed like, hey man, like they look like a couple like people that I would really get along with if we were actively using.
Yeah.
And so, do you know, like...
Yeah, so I'll tell you, man. So it was towards the end when I was that last little run after I went up to CMAR and didn't get on the bus. I remember one of my dealers took me to this young woman's house up here in Seattle who was a corporate recruiter for Mod Pizza. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. There are certain things now looking back that's my higher power.
Yeah.
It's not,
you're getting placed into places
it's inexplainable,
like, right.
Because coming with an assault, it's hard to get a job. Right.
Right.
And, I couldn't, it was hard to find one. And last resort, I remember she gave me a business card when I was high as fudge, dude. And I kept that business card. I still have it in my wallet right now. And I called her and she directed me to my district manager who got me a job and an interview at the Mod Pizza in Puyallup.
Yep.
And listen, I started it like 2 days a week. As a crew member, like washing dishes, moved up to all-star within 4 months, then to captain, and then now assistant manager and listen, Mod Pizza has done so much for my recovery. Like I can't even explain to you, like they allow me to just open the store, 8:30 to 1:30, get off, go to meetings.
You mean you have keys?
Yeah, I have keys.
Right.
I handle the safe and the cash counts in the morning, dude.
Who would ever thought?
Like, who ever thought that?
Right.
Like who would ever thought that?
Right.
And they want me on conference calls now. It's nuts. I told my story to the regional vice president and he's like, hey man, if you ever want to do a fundraiser for your 12-step program or the other one, please tell them to come through and we'll do it. I was like, hell yeah.
Wow.
That's what's up.
That's awesome.
See, and that, I don't know, something about that. And I'm so glad you came on and we talked about this because there are places that really, help out people like ourselves because it is extremely difficult. We had Pat on the podcast last couple weeks ago, and he was talking about coming out of jail or prison and not having any options. Like you're just dropped off with a garbage bag and good luck.
Yep.
And make sure you check in.
Yeah.
And make sure you're not doing anything bad.
Exactly.
Make sure you're sober. And it's like, man, well, we got to get like where we live in, where we work in, where's the money coming from. And so I just, man, shout out to Mod Pizza.
Yeah, shout out to
For
Mod
real.
Pizza. Good pizza too. Good pizza.
Good pizza too, man.
Yeah.
We'll talk, man.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I agree. Because it's hard to navigate. They place you in these houses when you get out of treatment and then you don't know how to live life. Like
Right.
I don't even have a car. I have a bike. This is nuts.
Yeah.
This is nuts. And I'm like, oh man. And I just remember, like I had to have patience. I had to have so much humility and patience to just start over because man, having almost 2 years clean, like the things that I gave away, because I always say this when I share, I gave that stuff away. I gave a wife away. I gave a house away. I gave cars away. I gave a career as a strength and conditioning coach for UFC fighters. I gave it away because my disease made me bow to it.
Yeah.
I was so like, I worshiped that thing, like anything over a wife, over your mom. I mean, I missed my sister's kids' events. I missed best friends' weddings because I didn't want to do, it became so bad where I would be in my garage, I didn't come out of the house.
Yeah.
You know?
See, to me, that's the insanity, right?
Yeah.
Like we think that this time will be different. We're going to do this. We're going to get high and it's going to be different. And we're going to get high and it's going to be different. And it's all going to be different. And it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. No matter which way you cut
even
it,
gets
flip
worse.
it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it gets worse.
It's crazy what they say. Like I remember in treatment, they're saying with any type of alcohol use or drug use, like if you quit for a while, when you start again, it's already progressed though.
Right.
Like you're going 0 to 1,000, not 0 to 100. Yep. You're not drinking it. You're going straight in. You know, like it happens.
Right, you're not slowly like, oh, let me take a little bump, like a little. No, we're talking about dump it all out.
Yeah, dump it all out. Yeah.
Let's run
and
it.
then exactly.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And that's the thing. Like I found out where I was like, at my age now, I'm gonna die. Like it comes to
speak it, bro.
At my age now, like if I kept on going that way, and you know, it's funny that you said that. I always thought, oh, I can quit this.
Yeah.
I'll just do this for a few years.
Yeah.
2 years. 6 years.
Yeah.
8 years. I'm like, dude, I'm still doing meth.
Yeah.
Like, how did I hide this that long? And you know, it's funny looking back on it and looking at some people that knew me. He didn't hide it. Like, we knew, bro. We knew. Yeah. We just didn't know how to tell you.
Yeah. See I used to have a big resentment over that part.
Yeah.
Which is, oh, you motherfuckers were watching me and you knew it was unmanageable and you didn't make an approach.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? I'll tell you this. I will never, from this day on, from that, from finding out that these cats were like, yeah, we knew you were right. Well, you didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. You gotta come. You gotta come with you gotta bust on me now.
Yeah.
Was I gonna probably hear you? Probably not.
Yeah.
Was I gonna go to treatment? Probably not. Probably. But boy, there's an accountability piece that I will always wear on my shoulders that will tell that person, hey man, why don't we step aside for a second? You mind talking for a second? Listen, man, you ain't hiding it.
Yeah.
You're not hiding it. It's not whether you think you're hiding it or how you doing. You okay? Well, okay. All right.
And that's right. And the way you said it, the way we take that, I probably would have done the same thing. It's like, you're crazy. Look, you're doing it with me. You're doing it right there with me.
Oh yeah.
But now looking back on it, it's funny, like having men in my life and in my program and my, like my sponsee brothers, like I'm able to take that constructive feedback now. Like whether it be like, man, you shouldn't be talking to that girl, or, oh man, you shouldn't be doing this and you should be doing more service work or something like that. It's crazy because now I can hear it and I'm not, that ego's not there. Back then, I had that resentment. Like, how could you guys say this about me when you're doing it right there and you fed it to me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you find so many ways to just not receive the help,
and
right?
That's the thing.
You got to get the substances out of your system to then maybe hear what's going on.
Exactly.
And that's why treatment to me was part of my story. Like that. Yeah.
That was the greatest thing. Like me going to treatment, I don't know what I was afraid of, maybe the stigma with it. But when I came in there, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like I didn't we came out of there, we're going to do a podcast. We're going to do all this and that. And it's sad because there is a very small percentage of those guys that actually keep going.
Yes.
It really is.
I remember them telling me a stat that was like 1 out of 10 of you guys are going to make it. And I remember being with my group and being like, 1 out of 10. Oh shit. That's got to be me then. I love you guys, but like,
exactly. And I knew that.
I got to stay sober here because I think I'll die.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this. And if you guys come along and we change the stats, that's great, but I'll be the one.
Yeah.
So what's your life like today? You're like. So
today, man. Oh man. Like I took a picture outside. I mean, I haven't been in Seattle in a minute, and I'm like, well, what a blessing, man. The sea air, you smell that sea air. I'm like, dude, I miss it up here. My life is
a little stinky today.
It is today a little bit.
A little fishy,
but man,
cool.
So I live with one of my brothers in recovery. We got a duplex, got my own first place.
Nice.
I got a dog. I got a beautiful Bully XL named Lila. She's amazing. It's my living amends to my dog that got kidnapped when I was on the streets. I'm also like, I'm heavily involved in my 12-step program, working the steps. I just finished my 9th step, started my 10th step. And here's a good thing. So this thing, there is like being sober and being clean and being able to work honest programs and work steps is amazing. On my 18 months, my mom flew out from Turkey to be there. I had not spoken to her.
Wow.
I was not able to speak to her for 4 years, like being in jail and being on the streets.
Yeah.
She came.
Wow.
And I broke down, man. I broke down in front of all my brothers, and it was crazy. My sponsor brought her in, and man, I just went up to her and hugged her. Then the next step was she lives in Turkey now, but she comes here to be with my sister for 4 or 5 months out of the summer, and then was making amends. So what happened was she flew my aunt, who I hadn't seen since 2004, and I'm at the Super Mall in Auburn, and I'm making amends. And I'm breaking down, and she's like, I already forgave you. I'm like, no. And one thing, for people who are new to sobriety and recovery, some of those amends are not for them. It's for you, actually.
Yeah.
Because, of course, a mom is always going to forgive you. That's your kid. And she said that to me. But I was like, let me do this. And for me I wrote all this. So my sponsor has me do it in such an amazing way. I did this to you. I did this to you. When I came home this one night, I did this. I stole money. I write it all out. How did that make you feel? And then I shut up. Is there anything I can do to make it better? And like my mom was like, you didn't miss anything. She was like, that was pretty thorough. Yeah. My aunt said, I would like to see you go back to school and become a lawyer. It's like, she didn't see me, bro. Like,
and it's like, I love you too, man.
Like, I love you too. I don't know, man. I'm getting old, but yeah. And then one thing, one of my biggest amends that I need to make is to my sister and my brother-in-law, and then obviously her kids. I have not spoken to my sister since 2017. My sponsor, it was funny. My mom was at my sister's, and she had, she just went home, and I was pretty sad. And I was like, my sponsor goes, why don't you reach out to her? Just text both of them. My mom said nothing about it. My aunt said nothing about it. I know my sister and I have had a very hard relationship because of my drug use, really hard. And it's all me. I did some things to them when they tried to get me out of the house, which it was a blessing that they did that. It was a blessing that they filed a no contact order. It was a blessing that they moved my stuff into a storage unit and got my dog into the Humane Society, because I did not know how to live on the streets. Like, I look at that now, it was the best thing that ever happened to me and for my family. So I reached out. On May 18th. I texted both of them, and I went to this meeting in Tacoma last week, and I was speaking on Monday, and I got so nervous because I saw the text. It was from my sister. And she was like, I'm very proud of you going down the road that you're going down. And yeah, we should meet in June. And she gave me some dates, and we're going to meet up a couple weeks from now at Seward Park. And that's going to be a big one. I have been writing that list and that letter because there was a lot I've done to my sister and a lot I've done to my brother-in-law that they need to hear. I need to acknowledge that stuff that I did to them, because right? Because it would be dishonor to them if I didn't.
Something that I really want to point out right now too, just like with what you're sharing with us, is like from the time that I first met you, I don't know, a year ago. Maybe more than that. It was, I don't even know. You were so new. It felt like. And then we went to the little men's retreat, and everything is like something that is so awesome about you, just how you can talk about, like, I would have never, like, you're almost 2 years sober. You talk so clearly and such a high understanding of yourself and your program that it's like, bro, that is such a big quality that you have, like the vulnerability and the honesty that it took me a year to even get to want to do some of those things. You know what I mean? And like, that's something that I think about your, like, and I don't know if you even realize it sometimes, like, that is such a big blessing of recovery. Like what you are living in. It's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know you too well, but it sounds like you're doing what's been suggested of you. Like, and so then you're taking the bull by the horns and just being like, yo, I'm going to do this. And so then there's the fruits of the labor, right? You're doing the work. And I remember when I was doing amends to my mom, there were these things that were on this list of like the things that I had done. And for my whole life, since those things had happened, she had always had this thought about like how it was going, what had happened. And then to have this truth come out and be like, so this is actually what happened.
Yeah.
It put her mind at ease. Like it calmed her down, you know, of like
100%.
Wow, like really? That's what happened that day? Yeah, that's what happened that day.
Or like it validated that they weren't crazy. And
Yeah.
they knew everything you were doing.
Exactly.
And like you manipulated her.
Exactly. Like the truth was like I was really I was doing bad things. Yeah. And it just I could see the like calmness come over her through those amends. And so like that's a huge part of our story. I agree with that.
My mom like looked at me and she like weird. She put her hand on my head and she's like, oh, she goes, I have my son back.
Yeah.
You know? And that's all I wanted. Like going through all that, like, man, I don't know, man. You know, there's certain people that you hear, you know, celebrities or important milestone people that go through these things. I'm so grateful I went through all this. I really am. Cause it needed to be addressed. I either like jails, institutions, or death. It was going to happen. Yeah. It really was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like after my wife left, I was the Walking Dead. I didn't care.
Yeah.
And that was the tough thing. Like I no longer love myself. And I'm like this, I attacked my drug use, like wanting to be the best, like wanting to be the number one dude. And that's why I'm attacking my sobriety and my recovery is. Yep. Because if not, then I have one foot out the door. I really do. Like I used to take hostages, man, when I was using. Like I controlled everything. I had safes. No, you guys got to come to me to do the drugs. I have to be, you know? And that was that thing. We'll keep you around for a little bit until we can actually, now we got you, right?
Yeah.
Now I don't have that. I have friends. Yeah. I have friends again. You know, I have relationships. Like it's hard because I haven't been able to see my nephews. My sponsor will say, hey, can you take my daughter to karate? Boom. Yeah. I show up for people all the time. I do. Yeah. I show up no matter what. You know, we went on a ride for one of my brothers who lost his son. And yeah, of course it's nice having a day off. No, I'm going to be there. Yep. Like I'm heavily involved in all service. I go to a lot of meetings. Like I said, the book study, we read the big book from AA, literature, all that stuff, man. Because you know what, dude, those stories in that, I mean, just reading the first 50 pages that we're into right now, because we're going to read the whole thing. I'm like, dude, that's me. That's me. I was that dude. Like the crosswalk story, you know, the crosswalk story. Jaywalking, the jaywalkers. Yeah. That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, I remember, you know, when I had heard the book word for word from my sponsor, it was like the book came alive like a movie. Yeah. And then I was in the movie and I was operating in the movie and I'm like participating and I'm like, wow, it just hit my soul. Yeah. Right. I accepted. There was this moment of like acceptance of like and surrender of like, okay, so what's up? I'm an alcoholic. What's going on? And an addict. What's happening? Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm sober today. Yep. So then the drugs and the alcohol are no longer part of my life. And now we're trying to recover. We're moving forward. We're taking the suggestions. We're in action. We're helping others. We're showing up. Mm-hmm. You know, I think tonight when I was on the way in, I was thinking to myself, I was like, dog, this is episode 20. I'm going to tell you something. When I was in active use, I was the idea guy to die for. Now, execution, you don't call me. I will give you the ideas, but I don't know how to go from A to Z. I'll get you to Z. I don't know how to do the letters in between. Yeah. And tonight, I'm driving in, and I'm like, man, I've asked for help from Fredo, from Mondo, from Aiden, from Rudy, from the guests, from Ali. Mm-hmm. Like, for once in my life, I've actually like asked for help. I've seen things through that, like, in my life, my whole story has always, in my mind, my story's been, you're just incomplete. Mm-hmm. You're just incomplete. You don't finish things. You don't just be a longshoreman. And that's what you do. You just go to work, you be a family man, and that's where we're going. But man, when I started this podcast and then the hurdles that had occurred, there were hurdles. Mm-hmm. We had Aiden on like 3 times. Things happened 3 times, and we've only had 1 episode of Aiden. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine what had happened to only get 1 episode of Aiden, but he's been on 3 times, and me wanting to stop. Yeah. I was like, you know what? I ain't got time for this podcast. Yeah. But it's this idea that the miracles of this program that have allowed me to continue the dream, like dreams come true. When you go through the hard stuff, you instead of stopping and retreating and quitting or going down a different street, instead it's like you continue. You might pause, you might stop. Okay, we gotta like we were sitting down, we're like, do we form an LLC? Is there a nonprofit? What are we doing? But it's not that we stop. And so Ali, it's been a pleasure to have you on. And before we go though, like, we got a lot of listeners out here, and hey, man, lately they've been coming out of the woodwork in gratitude and been telling us all about how much we've helped. And so, man, is there anything you want to tell the audience out there who's still struggling, that watches this, that can relate to your story and is just sitting there with the popcorn right now, like, damn, I cannot get a day. You know, is there? Just leave us something good.
First of all, I'm so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful that Aiden called me and you guys had me on the show, because I love doing this, man. I love to share my story. I love to help the still suffering alcoholic or addict, because it's important. For me is this, man. If you got an ego, you got to be humble, man. Just drop it. Drop that wall, drop that thing, and ask for help. The thing is, what you said is so true, is asking other people for help. Because I couldn't do that. That was the hardest thing I had. I had a lot of pride in letting people in. When you can drop your ego and drop your pride and actually be your true authentic self and show your vulnerability, you know how strong and powerful you are? Because I'm going to tell the listeners here that you guys are not alone. This is how we all went through it. I mean, everybody's bottom is different. It all takes one step, dude, is to admit that we have that problem, whether it be alcohol or drugs, is the admission, and then trying to find the higher power. And then just what you said, the suggestions, going to meetings, getting into service, and just doing as much as you can, being involved and one thing for me, when you do get into recovery, here's the thing, what's the worst that can happen? The drugs and alcohol will still be out there if you go back out. I mean, if it doesn't work for a year, go back out then, man. That shit's going to be out there. It's on TV all the time. Give it a year, man. Try to see how your life will change. And I'll tell you right now, my life has changed immensely, and it's still changing. And I feel like I'm a surfer riding God's wave. I'm just doing it. So and when you're in recovery, find a tribe. Find a group of people that you can trust with everything, and have fun. Have fun.
Ali, man, that's right. Hey, that's the way to end it, man. We appreciate you for being on here, man. The Gary Payton episode.
Hell yeah.
The 20. GP, baby.
You brought the heat.
So, man, thanks to everybody. Episode 20 wrapping up. Ali, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much,
Fredo,
guys.
thanks for coming out tonight. And then
Shout out
Pioneer Square, Color Studios, man. Mondo, we love you. And that's a wrap.